What do you know about bugs? No, not that bug, or those bugs, or even those bugs. I'm talking about this bug. He's styling, profiling, and he's here to put all the bugs of Hopelessness in their place. Never mind, this game is difficult. I'm just kidding. I'm a master of this game. Turns out it's pretty hard to do a Hollow Knight video without showing any bugs. I wonder how many people are going to click off this video or leave a dislike just because of that. Anyways, I recently played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for my previous video, wink wink nudge nudge, and it really got me in the mood to play some more metroidvanias. So how about one of the ones I name dropped in that video? It's been some time since I've played it, but I'll tell you right off the bat that it was like stepping into some cozy slippers that were filled with razor blades. Hollow Knight, released in 2017 by Team Cherry on pretty much all modern consoles and PC to pretty high critical acclaim across the board. I own like 3 copies of this game through different devices. You're welcome, Team Cherry, by the way. And I've played and recorded this on PC for this video. And I don't know if it was my controller, but sometimes the game felt unresponsive. Mostly in those intense fights. I don't remember having any of these issues when I've played on consoles, so if you haven't played this game yet, what are you doing? This game has been out for like 7 years now. Go on, the video will be here when you get back. Maybe get the game on consoles though, instead of PC. I really love the way this game looks with this hand-drawn art style. The simplicity really makes all these guys so adorable. Like, I want a plush of the night, and I'm not really a collectible sort of guy. I do dig a good poster every once in a while though. Apparently the simple art style was done to not prolong development time, and that's really funny in hindsight considering how long we've been waiting for the sequel Silk Song. Just something that stuck out to me while researching for this video. It was funded in a Kickstarter program back in 2014, and I just gotta say, poor Wii U owners. First of all, they bought a Wii U. But not only is this the second game in a row I've looked at where the funding was through Kickstarter, but also the second that had a Wii U port in their stretch goals that was met, but that never happened. That's it. It's just really funny to me. They also cited Mega Man X as an inspiration for the controls in this game. It really shows with its tight movement. It's like the complete inverse of Bloodstained, where I thought the combat, while fun, was clunky. Not here, however, as that's one of my biggest compliments towards Hollow Knight. The Knight handles quite effortlessly around the world, which is great considering this game feels much more like a platformer than a metroidvania at times. You can just look up the White Palace and the Path of Pain in said White Palace if you don't know what I mean. I could only imagine how much of a pain these areas would be if I was dealing with Bloodstained controls. I'm sorry to pick on you, Bloodstained. I know that wasn't your main goal, to have intense platforming sequences. I still like you too. But the story of this game,
I don't know.
I mean, I get the central gist of it, but I'm more interested in seeing the sights and learning about the characters I meet rather than the overarching story. Not that the lore of this world is boring, but I don't find joy in arduously combing over every little thing, unless it's something like Dark Souls. Oh shit, I mentioned that game, didn't I? Oops, I guess. Why I like games like No More Heroes, a game where it can have these deep, interesting characters without a required deep dive. You play as the Knight, a cute little bug guy with a big adventure ahead of him in the world of Hopelessness, a world of bugs that have fallen into decay. Long ago, Hopelessness was a kingdom where a tribe of moths worshipped a creature called the Radiant that could control the minds of bugs. Soon, a pale king would arrive in the kingdom. Using its power, it would give free will back to the bugs, but the Radiance persisted, appearing in the bugs' dreams and turning them back. So, in an attempt to seal it away permanently, the Pale King created vessels to trap it. Eventually, he would create one good enough for that purpose, the Hollow Knight, sealing it away in this temple, locked by the sleeping 3 dreamers. Monomon the teacher, Lauren the watcher, Hurrah the beast. I'm sorry to all those folks that thought we were playing as the title character. It's pretty much implied that the Knight is one of the failed vessels, coming back to fulfill its purpose of sealing the Radiance, or finishing it off once and for all, if you meet the requirements. So yeah, there is an oppressive atmosphere radiating over the entire game. Although it might seem depressing on the offset, there is a sense of hopelessness present with certain things that happen. One of my personal favorite moments is how you help the last stag learn of the lost whereabouts of his home, as he had forgotten the location, as he lies dormant in the stagways, with nothing to do as the kingdom fell into ruin. Eventually, once you open up all the fast travel stations, he remembers where it is, and you travel there. You arrive and just see bodies of dead stags all over the place. In a mask shard, yoink. You find an empty egg around, and when you talk to the stag, he smells something in the air, implying that the cycle will continue with a new stag running the stag ways. While some stories don't have such positive endings, it does lead to everything not being as pessimistic as it might seem. In terms of world design, that's one of the most important aspects of a Metroidvania. I noticed plenty of times where there were multiple ways to proceed through an area, depending on which movement upgrades you had found, as well as tons of surprising shortcuts where one area will weave back into another in an interesting way. I'm not a huge fan of all the propped up walls that you break to reveal them. It's a cute visual design, but it makes the world feel less natural and more artificial, like these walls were placed for the sole purpose of stopping the player, rather than being an actual part of the world structure. It takes me out of the world building a bit. There are a few annoying treks through areas too. Not all of these areas are winners, like having to go through 5 rooms to reach your destination, which can get pretty boring, especially if you have to make multiple trips because you've missed something. That's not necessarily a problem with just Hollow Knight, more an issue inherent to the design of these games. There's a stag station fast travel system to cut down on backtracking, however, but it always seems like the station is just so far away when you need one. Maybe it's just me. I will praise the game, however, for trying to shake up how you traverse around the world, with areas changing as you progress through the game. However, this only happens in one area, the Forgotten Crossroads, turning into the Infected Crossroads, and all it does is put more dangerous enemies in your path and make it a pain in the ass to navigate. It really only puts a damper on the flowing navigation through these areas, as you have to take the long way around all the damn time, and it just gets annoying. Now, like I said, it only happens in one area, so what was the point, other than to spice things up? Maybe if more areas were like this, then I'd see why, but just saying that probably added another 3 months onto the waiting time for Silksong. In terms of how the knight interacts with the world, you have all the classic movement upgrades for this sort of game, with your double jump, wall jump, dash, and probably the coolest being the super dash you get from finding the crystal heart. That being because of how it looks, rather than its utility, as it's really only useful for zooming over large gaps, but if there are enemies in the way, just be ready to stop, or you'll be crashing into them. Would have been cool if there was an upgrade to make it into attack, just saying. Oh fuck, I added another year to the timer, didn't I? If I were to describe the combat in this game in a short phrase, I would say it's simple but extremely effective. Battles have a fast-paced kinetic flow to them, due to how the bosses have these flowing animations for attacks that are gorgeously telegraphed. With only a few exceptions I can think of, the soul system is a great balancing act that the player must manage. Soul is used for a lot of things in the world of Hollow Knight. Not only is it used for healing, where you need to sit for a few seconds, focusing, so you have to find a window where it's safe to, which I'm bad at, it is also used for the 3 different spells that all get shadow upgrades down the line. A Vengeful Spirit that can be shot like a cannon if you want to use ranged attacks. The Desolate Dive serves as a ground pound that can break certain ground and can be extremely damaging with the upgrade and correct charms. And lastly, the Howling Wraiths that can attack above you and can hit multiple times and is good for those annoying flying enemies. That's for if you want to use Soul for the offensive. The most effective way to get Soul back is by attacking with your nail. So while you can play passively for some time, you'll still need to get your hands dirty if you want juice for those things. The knight only rocks the nail, so if you wanted something different, sadly, you're stuck with it. At least you can upgrade it as you find these pale ore scattered around the world. Not only can you increase the nail's power, but you can also learn these different nail arts from these guys as you find them. Pretty much new moves that can be great equalizers in combat, especially if you use the Nail Master's Glory charm to reduce the charge times. Although they are unwieldy to use as you need to hold down the attack button and press up or down on the stick or dash, then attack, it's a lot to process as you're trying to avoid enemies and other obstacles. It can get real hectic, but these can end a boss fight very quickly if you can use them properly. Not me though, I rarely use these. Unless it's in the Coliseum and I want to end it as quick as possible. How you really customize your loadout is with the charm system, where you find these charms all over the game. You can slot them in the charm notches that determine how many charms you can carry. You start with a paltry amount of 3, but can collect 8 more throughout your adventure, for a total of, you can do the math yourself. I've played through Hollow Knights a few times up to this point, and while recording for this video, I said, I'm going to try something new with my charm setup this time. Variety is the spice of life and all that, but you know what they say, old habits die hard, and if you're ultra aggressive like the way I like to play, Mark of Pride, Long Nail, Quick Slash, Steady Body, Grub Song, and for shits and giggles, Sprint Master. Or if you're in a hurry to dish out punishment, then switch Long Nail and Sprint Master for Unbreakable Strength. There you go, you'll thank me later. If you are a filthy magic user, then there's charms like Soul Eater or Shaman Stone to really boost the power of magic spells. Do you like having minions that do your bidding? Then try Weaver's Song or Glowing Womb. Ew. There are even some synergies between different charms that can give unique effects. It might seem like there isn't very much at first, but trust that as you gain more charms, you will certainly find something that can match your playstyle. The boss fights are definitely a highlight, with many of them either being large and imposing or small and awfully quick. Unless you're the failed champion. Look at him go. I'm not going to do a boss tier list or anything, but Lost Kin and Hollow Knight best fights, Watcher Knights, and failed champion very annoying, and I just feel bad for killing the grub mother. It's just sleeping, and we walk in and choose violence. The Hive Knight is literally just protecting a corpse at this point. I feel bad about fighting this guy too, although he did attack first. You don't think we can be like, hey dude, she's dead man, you just gotta let go. I guess this is very much an attack first, ask questions later sort of place. There have been a few free DLCs released after 2017, such as the Grim Troop and Godmaster. For the Grim DLC, I feel very I'm not a huge fan of how you have to go around to previous areas just to fight a few enemies. It's not all that engaging, although the fight with Grim and his Dream variant are definitely worth the lackluster fights beforehand. I'll be frank and say that I've had no real desire to fight through all the Pantheons and Godmaster. I've done a couple. That seems much more like a little side thing, something to chip away at, slowly, you know? By the time I was done with the game this time around, I had over 100% done at around 20 hours of playtime. I even went around and found that goofy mushroom guy to get the secret scene at the end. It's a game that you can get lost in if you want, and I'm super excited to see what comes next. I'm not all that good with segues or outros, but yeah, this is the outro. Can't wait for Silksong's release. Damn it, what did I say now?